Welcome back to another video. This video is a Ford Escape, specifically a 2012, but this meets the entire vehicle model lineup of this Ford Escape. We're going to be replacing the water pump. This will be a step-by-step DIY guide on how to do it. It's not a very hard job, but here's a guide on how to do it. Customer's complaint is that it's leaking. As you can clearly see, you already have a trail of coolant coming out of it. So we're going to be using AC Delco parts with a new fan belt for the water pump, and there's the water pump itself. First things first, what you need to do, we're going to loosen the air box and unclip the mass airflow sensor. I'm going to get this out of my way because I've already got my hood propped up here, so it gives me more lighting, but we're going to get rid of this, undo your 8mm clamp here and down there, and then disconnect your mass airflow sensor here, and then just underneath here there's another clip right here. It has a gray tab on it. You have to lift it up, twist it over to the side, and then it will allow the hose to be released. I removed the air box just to give you guys more of a eyesight of what you're doing, but you do not need to remove the air box for this job. You can leave it alone, but I removed it. So now that you've got a clear picture of what is next, you're gonna have a hose clamp here and a hose clamp down there. This vehicle currently has no coolant in it, so I don't really have to worry about a bunch of coolant pouring out of it. Because it was leaking all out of this water pump right here. Now that right down there is going to be your water pump. So we're going to take a hose clamp plier and remove this one here and this one down here. If yours is full of water, there is a drain plug on the bottom of the radiator. It is either yellow or it is going to be an old white stained color. Go underneath the vehicle and just crack that loose and let it drain out. Use a catch pan underneath and then that will do that. However, for me, there's no coolant in this car, so I don't have to do that. With a hose clamp plier, remove this one and this one. That's your next step. Now any pair of pliers will do, but this is a hose clamp plier. All right, so I removed the two coolant hoses. When the coolant hose is older, they can get stuck and seized on here. So what you need to do is you just need to be very gentle with them so you don't rip them. You can use a flat head and kind of put it in there and kind of circle it around. You don't want to use it and pry it up or anything like that because that will potentially rip the hose, especially if the hose is older because they are brittle. So just work your way around it and kind of wiggle and wiggle, wiggle, and eventually it'll break itself free. You're going to take the hose clamp off of this one and this one, remove those two hoses. It's all going to pour out if you have anything. I rinse this all down to make sure it's a clean surface. And now I have access to my water pump. But before that, if you're replacing your belt, you can cut it off if you want to. However, I'm going to walk it off, even though I am going to replace this belt as well. How do you walk it off? Basically, you'll just take a pry tool and just kind of shimmy it over the wheel. They are a stretch fit belt, so there's no adjustment that you can put on them. So as you can see here, you can just get a flathead or something, and then you would just basically walk the belt off. Now I'm going to get another one here, and I'm going to keep going in a circle until it falls off. It doesn't take a lot of effort to actually remove these belts, so you're more than welcome to walk it off, or if you're going to replace the belt, just cut it. On this next step, you're going to need a ratchet, and you're going to need a short socket 8mm and a longer socket 8mm. There's going to be 3 bolts, one right there, one down there, and then one on the other side in between down there. You're going to use your small one on the top, and then you're going to use your deep socket on the other 2. All right, so after you've removed the 3 bolts on there, it's going to be easy to get your water pump off. You're just going to have to use something to pry it off. So you can see there's a little trail of coolant going down there. So basically just get your flathead and just put it in here and just wedge it out to pull it away. And that's basically the water pump coming off. Now it's hard to see come on an interesting angle here, but yeah, you're gonna do that. Out comes your water pump. Okay. That's the old one. And you would just inspect it and see why it failed if it interests you, or just say screw it and start changing it to the next one. You want to clean up the surrounding shroud around it, all around here. Clean it up. You can use a rag and brake clean, whatever method you want, because you want to make it nice and shiny and clean. So when you put your new one on there, it's a clean mating surface. With your new water pump, it will come with a paper gasket. Take note of the design of the gasket because it is specific in which way it goes. As you can see the notch there and there, that's how it lines up. Okay, just basically seat it on like that. Don't forget to use brake clean to clean up the shroud there, which I'm gonna do right now, and then I will put it back on. To ensure that the gasket is on there properly, I usually use like a little bit of a gasket maker on the back side of there, just a tiny dab, just so it sits properly. And I usually put it around the bolt holes so it lines up perfectly when you put it back in, because you do need this gasket to be on there exactly how you see it in the right now. Because if it is off, you will get a leak. So make sure you have it in there all nice and lined up. All right, after the water pump is installed and you've tightened up your 3 8mm, 1, 2, and 3, you're then, before you put your hoses back on, you got to put your belt on. If you're using your old one, you're more than welcome to, but I'm not. We're going to be using a new one, okay? Now, putting your belt on, there's a few little tricks and ways that you can do this. You can physically crank it over, which you could stretch it and rip it. Or if you put it on the bottom pulley and you zap strap it here and here, you just, after you've connected your hoses, you just crank it. Don't turn on and just crank it, just so this actually does crank. And that should be enough to actually pull it over. But you want to make sure that this is super tight and these straps are super tight. And you have them in the wheels here, so they're inside here, one's there, and then the other one is over here. That way it has enough, so it's holding the tension down, so as the wheel turns, it stays on the belt, enough for it to try to feed over top. Sometimes you can get it the first time, sometimes it takes a few times. Zap straps are on. I got one here, one here, one here. Trying to create as much tension as you possibly can, so when you turn it on, it has enough meat on there to actually hold it down. So hopefully this works. And just like that, the belt is on. That's a secret trick way of doing it. And it was even kind enough to remove all the zap straps for me. So now the stretch belt is on the water pump, your bolts are tight, and now you're all the way on just to make sure that your track is feeded in there nicely. So that is done. We're going to reclamp these hose connectors back on here, and then the one down low. We'll put all of this back on, fill up the coolant reservoir, put the box on, intake all of it, coolant reservoir, fill it up. It's gonna drain like crazy, fill it up, drain like crazy. And I'll also show you how to bleed your coolant system. All right, so now that you've got your belt on, you got your hose clamp and your hose on your other hose. If you took out your airbox, put it back on now, but again, you don't need to for this video, but you will need to reconnect your boot. With your airbox back in, air filter in, and your coolant reservoir overfilled, and all your piping back together, plug in your mass airflow sensor if you took the box off. Double check that your clamps and everything are all good, and your belt is on. You're gonna turn on the vehicle. It might stall out, but I do it this way just so I can see that the water pump has no leaks, because if I put an intake boot there, I can't really see the gasket to make sure that it holds up for the customer. So I'm gonna turn it on, and it might stall out, might throw a check engine light, but make sure you have a scanner or anything to remove it. And if it does, it's just gonna be because the airflow ratio is off. So if you don't have a scanner, you can always disconnect the positive terminal of the battery. But run it now and see how it goes. Make sure there's no leaks. Make sure that your belt is on nicely and that your pulley is working great and that it's not wobbling. Okay. Make sure you have no coolant leaks in your ball. If you want to leak, just got to feel that last bottom goes down there. But I got no leaks down there. So I'm going to put the intake boot back on and I'm going to bleed the system. Once you've got it all back together, I highly recommend that you take a big jug of water and you rinse down that area, because you have coolant sitting all over here. And you want to rinse it down to make sure that you get all of the old coolant that you pulled out away. And then go for a road test. The reason why I say rinse it down is because 1, it will leave a smell as you drive as it heats up and you're gonna think that you have a leak. 2, it's all fresh in water, so it'll evaporate faster. That way you can actually tell if it's leaking still. And 3, just because cleanliness. So anyways, I'm gonna go for a road test now, but that's basically how you do it. Now, when it comes to bleeding, turn your fan on full blast and your heat on full blast, and you wanna overfill your coolant reservoir. I've already filled this one up already, and it's already down below. So before my road test, I'm gonna go and fill it back up again, because you have to think of how much coolant that you actually lost when you did this job. So
overfill it, and it will go down. When the job is done, after a day of driving or to your next destination, double check your coolant reservoir, keep your coolant jug with you because you might have to top up again because the water pump will push coolant around, making sure that there are no more air bubbles in the system and bleeding it out into the reservoir, and that's why there is a breather on the side of that reservoir. Anyways, this is how you do a water pump on a Ford Escape. Hopefully you found this video helpful and useful. Thanks again for watching. Take care and see you on the next one. Don't forget to comment and like and subscribe. Thanks for your support.